Hey, hey, hi, Kari.
Hi, Joe.
So for those who don't know me, I'm Joe Pronger Faulkner. I'm here today with Kari Schneider to talk about our collaboration book called Absolute Will, which was released in October 2021. Kari and I have known each other since we were in grade 2. We have a long history of many memories and adventures and some misadventures. So to have her in this collaboration means the world to me. Thank you, Kari, for being in this book and for being here today.
I'm so glad I'm a part of it, and thank you for having me.
So the idea for this collaboration came to me earlier this year, actually back in January, as I was still working on my first book, and I kept allowing myself to get distracted with other things on my to-do list. You know how that goes. One of which was trying to come up with a good way to fundraise for a project that my fiance Mike and I want to do in Nicaragua. So eventually, months later, the urge to create an inspirational collaboration got so strong that I knew I needed to get going on it. And I really wanted women from as many countries around the world as possible to make this a global effort of inspiring others. And I wanted every story to have a health and willpower aspect to it. When the idea came to me that a book collaboration would be a perfect way to fundraise, this book suddenly became my #1 priority to make it happen by the end of the year. And as you know, we had some really tight timelines. So all of the profits from the author entry fees and the sales through the first month of our launch are going towards Mike and I building a house for a family in Nicaragua who doesn't have a home of their own. I'm so thrilled that we have 21 authors in this book, Kari and me and 19 other amazing women from 7 countries around the world. Our authors are from Canada, the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, the United States, Australia, South Africa, and Bulgaria. And together we are sharing our personal, vulnerable, insightful, true stories of willpower when facing emotional and mental health crises, physical injuries, and disease. Now, this book is self-published and self-promoted by all of our authors, not done through a traditional publishing house. It has been a grassroots effort, which makes what we've done with it so far all the more incredible. My first book became a bestseller in 2 categories, so I was pretty sure that we could do it with Absolute Will, especially after tweaking some of my marketing strategies, and plus the fact that we would have a built-in book launch team with all 21 of us sharing about it. What I did not expect, and I don't think what any of us expected, is that we would hit #1 bestseller in 9 categories across 3 countries, Canada, the US, and Australia. And we also did not expect to hit #1 new release in 31 categories across 4 countries, Canada, the US, Australia, and the UK. And that's just in the first few weeks since the book went live on Amazon. Now, the reviews so far on this book say that these stories are raw, real, sensitive, thought-provoking, heartwarming, life-changing, well-written, and that this book is a fantastic read. The stories are truly inspiring. Any reader can relate to these stories on some level. You feel a personal connection to each of the writer's journeys, and that this book has given so much hope to others. These are all direct quotes from reviews on Amazon. It's so amazing. I just get chills every time I look at the reviews and realize that we are really touching people's lives and making a difference already with this book. So Kari's chapter is called 2 Steps Forward, chapter 9 in Absolute Will. Welcome, Kari.
Thank you. Thank you. It's humbling. It's very humbling to be a part of the collaboration, simply because so many of these women have gone through so much, and the way that it's already impacting people is so powerful. I think it's beyond what I was hoping for from the get-go, but it's so bloody exciting to see, it's just like, okay, this means that people are reading it. This means that somebody feels like they can too. That's what it means. And in a world right now where so many people feel like they don't know how, or they can't, or they don't know how they're going to get through, it's awe-inspiring. It's just beautiful. So thank
Absolutely.
you for having me be a part of it.
So can you tell everyone a little bit about who you are and where you're from and what your chapter is about in Absolute Will?
My name is Kari Schneider, and I am an executive coach and life strategist. I'm an expert in all things physical performance. And I spent, a 20-year career being a strength and conditioning specialist and exercise physiologist to top athletes in the world. So Olympians and professional athletes, and also private clients. And I owned and started my own gym back in 2005 and ran that for 16 years. And before pivoting to online and really utilizing my skills and coaching abilities for life coaching and strategic coaching and business coaching. But I, back in the years and years that I was a competitive athlete and racing and training and working in a physical space, I just didn't have an off button, not because I didn't want to recover and relax, but because I was in a lot of what I felt was urgent need, meaning I started my business as a single mom. And for me, it was like sink or swim. My house is my collateral. I didn't take a business loan. I took a home line of credit. So, it was keep my house, feed my child, and run a business that I believed so fully in that would that provided a space for people to train for the Olympics. Where I was in Winnipeg, Manitoba, there was no other spaces. So I was driven so powerfully by what I believed in that I forgot to believe in taking care of me the way I needed to be nurtured and nourished. And so, if we go way back, you and I were little kids in Dryden, Ontario. And, I spent some time in the States in school and university and in high school, and spent some more time in Dryden in high school. And, I moved to a few places, Winnipeg and Turkey, across the world, and have more recently in the last 10 years been, or 12, I guess now, in London, Ontario. And just closed my brick and mortar business in 2020 and transitioned to online coaching. And but yeah, to go back to the actual chapter topic, it's about me beating myself up physically, unintentionally, and not allowing the recovery that I needed from injuries, such as I had multiple disc injuries and SI joints, so sacroiliac joint injuries, along with a bunch of other injuries. And I could rehab it well myself, but the ultimate problem was that I just wasn't getting the recovery that I needed, and it turned into something that my discs were so worn down that it put me into a nerve damage situation, and I couldn't walk. So it's I say that kind of lightly because I feel genuinely that so many people have had so many things way harder than me, but so I tend to dismiss it because that's my way of coping, is to go, oh, that's not so bad. I can handle this. I can handle this. I can handle this. So I realized that it was a real problem, but I also realized that, I see people every day who have it way harder than I do. So I tend to try and default to the gratitude.
And gratitude will get you, a long way, right? So that's an amazing mindset to have. But just digging a little bit deeper into what you were going through, it could have affected your career, right? If you weren't able to get through that. I mean, you have a job where you are in a physical environment, and you are, at the time when, things were first happening, you were actually, working in your gym physically and trying to teach other people how to do things safely and, get out of their own chronic pain. So that's kind of an irony there that, you were dealing with the same things.
I was known for, I have Olympic level athletes who were, I was known as having to be able to perform everything I was asking people to do. And I worked with a lot of crazy talented athletes. So, I have athletes who remember me with my youngest child pushing a running stroller with a baby in it up the hills that they were running, because I'm like coaching them up and down those hills. I have scenarios where I was 8 months pregnant and demoing chin-ups and ripping off, 6 chin-ups. And that's so those things make these big impacts for people. They're just like, whoa, I came across as bulletproof, superhuman, all these things. And in a lot of ways I was, but this is such a gift because my back flared up, as it had many times over a decade. My back flared up. And so I backed off. I knew I could rehab it. And it was a hard, long rehab. It took about a year to rehab. And then it was Paul's birthday. He really wanted to do what's called a Tougher Mudder in North Carolina. And a Tougher Mudder is not a Tough Mudder. It's like a Tough Mudder on steroids and more competitive. Now, I was like, I knew I wasn't ready to race, because when I race, I like to, my standard is that I'm top 10 in any race that I do. I have to be placing somewhere in the top 10 of that race. And that's
even when we were kids, you were like that, when we would do those cross country runs.
Like, I'm not going to race it unless I believe that I'm placing in the top 10, and I've been lucky enough to do some really cool races, eco adventure races and stuff like that. So anyway, we did the Tougher Mudder. I completed it. I think it was in the top 10 or whatever. But after that, and it wasn't right after, it wasn't like the next day or anything like that. It was about, and I was giving myself recovery from the race. I've raced many a time, but about a week or two later, I couldn't, like my toes wouldn't even, they were like floppy fish. My toes on my right foot were like floppy fish. I couldn't pick my foot up. I was trying all the things, going to the chiro, getting into my doctor, trying all the stuff. And there was a span of time that was just shocking, that I couldn't walk, because I've never been in a scenario where, okay, nothing acute happened and now I just can't walk. Things aren't working. And so flash forward and getting the orthopedic surgeon and another MRI, and them doing an EMG, which tests your nerve conductivity, and them saying, okay, at that point I could walk better. I could even jog a little bit for a little span of time, very short span of time. But at that point, when they did the EMG testing, I had 70% bilaterally. So that's why I couldn't run or walk fast for long spans of time, because with only 70% of conductivity through your nerves to fire the muscles, you've got your 70% would get tired, and there's not another 30% to do the rest of the work. So you just start to fatigue and you can't keep going. And so my lower legs would shut down, my feet would drop. And I started to look at this, and the first thing was, oh, okay, I can't train right now, so I'm going to have to recover. And I know what it's like to go through injuries and rehab injuries. I know what that's like countless times for my athletes. But it wasn't that. It was starting to realize, well, okay, I can't train right now, but does this mean I won't be able to compete or race down the road? But then it started to turn into different questions, like, what if I can't walk? And training for me, physicality is such a emotional outlet. It's such a way for me to vent. It's such a critical part and even value in my life, that I was struggling with, like, how that's my happy place. If I don't get physical sometime early in the day, chances are I'm going to be a little bit crusty later in the day or some point down the road. And so I'm like, I started asking the question, can I be happy? How do I become happy if this is taken away from me? If I didn't have my legs, I started to get extreme with it. Like, what if I don't have my legs? What if they can't do what I want them to do? And it just started to change everything about how I think, in realizing that I always relied on my determination and my physicality for so much in my life, including my emotional stability, that now, or at that time, I was realizing that I have to create it in my mind, and I have to create my healing in my mind, and I have to create my emotional state in my mind, and I have to create anything that I want for my life in my mind, instead of trying to create it with my grit and my physicality and my determination. I had to be able to create happiness and joy and love and resilience and patience and things that weren't practiced for me.
I love that. Just the incredible insights that you've been able to reach through what you've been through. It's so inspirational and such a blessing for your life. But now that you're sharing it with other people as well, it's making an impact already for the people that are reading your chapter. So when you first found out about this collaboration, what made you want to jump in?
Well, you, number one. So just my belief in you and what you're up to and your heart behind everything. So I know it's heart-led for you and career mission for you. So you were number one. Secondary to that was that, I could see it was going to do a good thing for the people that are meaningful to you in Nicaragua. But for me personally, I wanted to practice my writing in a short bite that I could share in a way that, with this collaboration, it's not just a book that I'm producing, it's a book that a number of us are producing. So by being a contributor, it feels different, or a collaborator, it feels a little different than taking it all on at once. So to me, other than the blogs that I write or the podcasts that I produce or the things like that, I felt like this was a way to practice my own writing, but also practice sharing something that I typically hold behind the scenes for. I don't, open that right up to everyone. So practicing sharing something like that, because, and I have the utmost respect for the other collaborators who have shared things that are so personal that I can relate to. And I've had some very challenging personal things in my life that I don't quite have the just the confidence to share in a public setting yet, or maybe I won't, or maybe I will in a different realm. But I felt ready to share this physical journey that was more, over the last few years, that I thought could make a difference for other people, because people get told by a physician, don't run. People get told by a surgeon, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can. And I want to tell people or show people that you can be your best absolute health. You can have incredible performance and incredible ability that might take a long time to get there, but is absolutely possible. So to have the white coat syndrome of having somebody tell you that you can't, or that this is the way it is, it doesn't have to be that way. And I wanted to make sure that people could hear that, because it can really limit people when that's what they believe. And then wherever their belief is, that's exactly where the rest of their life is going to hold them. And I wanted I wanted people to be able to go beyond that and see an example of that. And that's where, you know, I was so lucky where I saw my own MRI in the physician's office, and I suddenly felt a flood of grace and empathy for my body. Like as though I was separate from my body, I felt this sudden empathy for my body, because I hadn't seen my MRI results in years, and now I could see my MRI results. I could see those little crushed discs, and I was just like, oh, look at you, so sorry. Like I did this to you. And while the surgeon is saying, well, you know, I can't see, you know, I don't know why people run so much the way they do, and you know, that's not something that you'll be doing, and I'm just like almost giddy, because I'm like, now I know what I'm dealing with. I didn't know, couldn't see the diagnostics. Now I know where the nerve conductivity is. Now I know where the MRI is. Like now I just know it's going to take longer. It's okay, because I've seen paraplegics with C-level lesions who are Olympic athletes. So they've got C-level lesions, and that means that they don't have the nerve to actually fire their tricep. And I've seen those athletes have their bicep wrap around and start to become an elbow extender instead of an elbow flexor. I've seen athletes who have completely ruptured hamstrings, so much so that the hamstring balls up, so there's a lump in the back of their leg, and it not get surgically repaired in time, and that hamstring reattach on its own and become functional again. Like I've seen crazy stuff that is mind-blowing that the body will do if the person has the wherewithal to take care of themselves or believe or whatever. There's really no limits. It's just a matter of deciding. And so for me, I decided that I was going to love, nourish, and honor and protect my body, and it will do the same for me. And so that's been my process.
That is amazing. Amazing. So writing seems to bring out different experiences for different people. How was the actual writing process for you? And did anything surprise you along the way?
It was cathartic, and what happens with the writing, what surprises me is that all of that's sitting in my head or whoever's head. And when it's in your head, it seems clear, it seems like it's a thing. But then when it comes out on paper, it may be kind of jumbled, or it may be kind of disjointed. And that it's almost like a physical example of what happens for us day to day, is that we've got all this stuff in our heads, and we try and get it out, and it doesn't come out verbally or on paper the way that we think it is in our head. It seems so clear in our heads. And the beautiful part about the writing process is that you get to see it and go, oh, well, made sense to me in my head, but this doesn't fully make sense to maybe a reader who doesn't have all the context, all the life experience that's existing for us personally. So it was surprising to just to find how therapeutic and cathartic the process is in just putting that out there. And then at the same time, how much cleaning up what's in our heads needs to actually get the message across to other people in a fashion that's receivable.
I love that. Yes, well said. Because often when you start writing, then it, like you said, it kind of gets jumbled, or you start even going on to a different tangent that you weren't even expecting when you set out to write, your paragraph or your page or however many words you set out for that day. So that is very cool. Do you think, based on this experience, that you'll go on to write your own book at some point, or be in another collaboration maybe?
Yes, I do. I think because of this, I've been approached about another collaboration from someone else.
Awesome.
But I don't, that's not a priority right now, another collaboration necessarily, but I I, you know, as one of the secondary reasons why I participated in this collaboration was because I know that I want to write a book. I've known that for a long time. I just don't know when, and I haven't quite narrowed it down to exactly what I want to get out there. And so I thought this would be a really good opportunity to just try it out, see what it's like, what's it look like. Yeah, eventually I'll write a book. I just not quite there yet, but I will.
And what a way to start, right? With Absolute Will being, you know, making all of us international best-selling authors. So yes. Start with a bang.
Well, you can't undo that. So the cool thing is it doesn't go away. This happened. So, and you were the catalyst to this. You were the creator, the start of all of it. So it happened, and nobody can take that away from you in your publishing abilities. Nobody can take that away from us and us putting our stories out there. So, you know, it's a great thing to be able to, down the road, when I do write something that's my own in terms of just a specific topic, I already have this other cool collaboration that's already got all these neat bestseller and badges and all the things that come with getting it out to the world. So it's really neat.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is your top piece of advice for someone that may be thinking they want to become a published author?
Start with something like this. I think I'm familiar with others who have done collaborative writing efforts, and I really think that you've knocked this out of the park. I think I said this, you know, I just said this before we were on air, and it's that what happens in so many ventures, whether it's a launch of a product, whether it's a book launch, whatever it is, what so many people do is they put it out in the world and they give it a little shove, and then there it is, and it does this little splash maybe, and maybe there's a few ripples, but what you did is you put it out there, and then you kept putting the foot on the gas pedal, and that has helped it continue to get to more people. And that is what's most important about it, because this is a book that will help people. If it doesn't matter if this book gets created, but nobody sees it, then nobody's going to get the benefit of being helped. Books aren't these major money makers. That's not what it's about. Somebody who's writing is writing because they feel compelled to. They feel like there's something in them that has to get out there in this particular fashion. So writing a book is something that's either some sort of calling, some sort of compelling. And this particular book, I think, has this potential to help so many people. And you keeping that foot on the gas has done it. So yeah, I'd recommend this process. I would recommend this process with you. I don't know that I'd recommend this process with everybody, because it takes a lot of determination, a lot of perseverance and grit to keep at it the way that you have. So that, from a publishing perspective, is critical.
Thank you so much. I've got like goosebumps, and yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. And it has, I mean, as much work as I have definitely put into it, it's also, I love the fact that we are a team. I feel like we're a little family now, the 21 of us, and we've, you know, I mean, we really have come together from all around the world, and it's been an amazing experience for me as well. So what else are you up to? I mean, I know you're up to 1,000 things, but let's talk about what else you are doing and what's next for you.
Right. Okay, so I have this really, really cool coaching membership called the Empowered Team. So this is this fabulous space where I get to coach people in a group setting, but we coach on topical items like communication or goal setting or boundaries or all sorts of amazing things. And it gives people top level coaching at an affordable price, instead of what happens normally is that people like CEOs and top business people, they'll have a coach. Anybody who's top at what they do in high performance, you think of an Olympian, you think of, they have multiple coaches for multiple things in order to be the best in their performance. So it's known that that's going to happen in that realm, to have a coach. But a coach typically costs something like $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And so I do high-end coaching like that for business people or for businesses, but I wanted something that's very impactful and very affordable for people who want to grow and they care about their health and they want to learn and they want to be around other people who want to learn, and they want this, you know, diverse kind of environment where it's like, yeah, we all want to grow, we all care about our health, and we want coaching too, and we're not willing to pay, you know, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month for a top-end coach. So I wanted to provide the highest level coaching in a group environment that's affordable. And so that's our empowered team. And we make custom online training programs. So people who are, whether they're rehabbing or training for something, I've been lucky enough to be coaching in the best level in the world, which is Olympic and pro level. So I've been lucky enough to have a whole 2-decade career or more than that now. So we make custom online training programs, and we do business coaching for businesses. And we also have this really incredible high-end retreat called the Zenith. And that is this exclusive kind of event that creates coaching and physicality. It's all about mindset vitality, physical vitality, spirit vitality, out in some amazing place, whether it's at a camp up north or Mexico or Europe. That's where the Zenith is held. And in the meantime, as you know quite closely, we've purchased a small, older fishing camp, and we're restoring it. And it's been in my family for a number of years, and we're restoring it so that we can have retreats and business retreats or wellness retreats or events for people to get together in these little log cabins and a cottage and a lodge and a boathouse. Like, it's just a gorgeous place in northwestern Ontario. So that's also in the works. That'll probably take another year or two to actually get off the ground, but that's what's going on in the background while all of the coaching is going on in the foreground. And I have a podcast called the Empowered Team Podcast, and that it's similar to our book collaboration. It provides Mindset Mondays, so quick blurbs for people to get focused for their week, or get a concept that they can really progress themselves or grow themselves. And those are little short 10-minute Mindset Mondays. And then we interview people typically with some sort of physical performance background, might be dancers or Olympians or sport physiologists, but people who have a story of overcoming, and share that so that those who care about growth and have some obstacles to overcome have examples to hear and understand that, you know, that this is kind of a big thing. Like, if you remember our guest not long ago who has no legs, or our ultra marathoner, or, you know, just crazy stories that are really cool.
Yeah, I love your guests. You always find the most interesting, very interesting people to interview. And I just love listening to your podcasts. And I've got to say, I love your coaching. I am in the monthly program and it is fantastic. I always go into it kind of just with a super open mind, wondering, okay, what's going to happen tonight, or what's going to happen this morning, and come out of your sessions with like a different perspective, or validating a perspective that I was kind of, you know, like chewing on, trying to figure out where I sat on that. So I am really enjoying my time with you in your coaching and loving your podcasts. So keep up the great work.
Thank you.
So if you've enjoyed getting to know more about Kari and you want to connect with her, you can do that through her website at theempowered.ca. And I'm also going to put some links in the video as well to your podcast and a few other ways that that we can find you, Kari. So
Awesome.
thank you so much for being in this collaboration and for your time today. I know you're busy. You're just such an inspiration and an example of, you know, how it's up to each of us to create the life that we want to live. And I am just so thrilled that you chose to share your story in Absolute Will.
Thank you. It wouldn't have been possible without you. So thank you so much.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.